Hello, everybody. Before we jump into today's episode, we have two sponsors we want to say thank you to for supporting this show. The first one is Routine. You guys have heard me talk about Routine, honestly, back from the early days of the podcast, and it's still a product I use every single morning. They have a prompt for me here. I'm going to do a little impromptu on this ad read today because honestly, this is a product that I truly believe in. And so I'm just going to tell you guys exactly what I think and why. First and foremost, this is a stat that they shared, but when you sleep, you lose between a pound and a pound and a half of water. And most of that's just sweating while you sleep. I used to not know if that was actually true, to be honest. I felt like a pound to a pound and a half of water seemed like quite a bit while I slept. But the one thing I did constantly pay attention to when I started using Routine was just the fact that before using Routine, I always felt a little dehydrated in the morning. And I'm one of those people that when I get up really early usually. I work out. One of the first things I do is some form of fitness. It's just like what I do before everyone's awake. And so it's very easy for me to grab a coffee, pre-workout, an energy drink, something with caffeine in it, and just go. When I am good about using Routine, first, I basically they come in these little single serve packets. They contain half an organic lemon, a tablespoon of apple cider vinegar, Himalayan sea salt, all 6 essential electrolytes, and they have no sugar in them at all. A lot of hydration products are going to have sugar. So one of the things about Routine that I love is that there's no sugar in there. So when I am good about doing this consistently, I will take one of those single serve packets, I'll throw it in my mixer bottle, and whether I also put in a pre-workout or something with caffeine or I just drink that separately, I try to drink that first. And the days I do that, I do genuinely feel hydrated and just have a different form of clarity all morning. A lot of people have tried to make their own homemade versions of Routine, right? You see people they take a shot of the apple cider vinegar, they put a little sea salt, a little lemon in a drink. This is essentially that, but in a product that you can take with you on the go, have it ready for you first thing in the morning. I know me personally, when I'm groggy rolling out of bed, the last thing I want to do is, squeeze a lemon, cut lemons up, go get the apple cider vinegar, find my sea salt. I just rip this packet open, throw it in my water, drink it, and it's good to go. You can try yours today. If you haven't tried it yet and you've been listening to this podcast for years, just try the damn Routine. Give it a shot. You can use code ShaneWhite30 and get 30% off your first order. So you get 30% off by using code ShaneWhite30 and go to yourroutine.com. To make it even easier, I've added the link to yourroutine.com in the show notes. So just click on the show notes for this episode, click on the link to yourroutine.com, and don't forget to use code ShaneWhite30. All right, guys, today's episode is also brought to you by NeuroRoast. Again, I'm going to go a little off script here. NeuroRoast is a product that I also came across during this year of 2023. They are a coffee company that's helping you optimize your brain function and overall well-being. This is another product that, to be honest with you, when I first started working with it, I was a little on the fence. I was like, do I really want to have mushrooms in my coffee? Well, folks, I will tell you, when I use NeuroRoast, one of the things that has stood out to me the most is I'll back up. People that know me know that I have way too much caffeine, typically. One of the things this year I've done a good job of is cutting out alcohol. Not completely, but predominantly, I don't touch a lot of alcohol anymore. What I think I've actually done the other way, though, is add a lot more caffeine. So I do definitely drink too much caffeine. That's something I need to work on next year, is just trying to minimize how much of that. But NeuroRoast is something that has actually helped me because of the way they've formulated their coffee. Like, unlike regular coffee, which is, still something I consume, but NeuroRoast specifically doesn't cause jitters or crashes. Mushroom coffee provides a more balanced and sustained energy, allowing you to stay focused and productive throughout the day. So the times I do use NeuroRoast, I'll be honest, I just don't feel that jittery, like, I'm jumping out of my chair or standing here at my desk jumping around feeling. So give NeuroRoast a try. They have some really good flavors. I'll be honest too, the two guys that started NeuroRoast are just really good dudes based out of New York, and they're hustling, and hopefully they can get some people to try NeuroRoast this holiday season by listening to this podcast. So for you folks who've been on the fence, I'm telling you, it tastes delicious. They've done a fantastic job of making this coffee not only be functional, but taste fantastic. And if you want to try NeuroRoast, you can use code ShaneWhite. So it's super simple, just ShaneWhite at checkout. you'll also get 30% off. So if you go to neuroroast.com, and once again, I have added that to the show notes. So just click into the show notes while you're listening to this episode. You can click on NeuroRoast link directly. Don't forget to use code just Shane White, and you'll get 30% off your order. Hope you guys love both these products. I'm trying to not only bring you guys products that I use, but that I believe in on the podcast. I'm not taking ad reads for any brands that I don't really believe in. So anyway, hope you guys love both those products, yourroutine.com and neuroroast.com. I've added those links to the show notes. Hope you guys love it. And I got an awesome guest coming up right after this. All right, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Shane White Show. I'm pumped today to have Cedric Corbett on the podcast from Sauce Box. That's a mouthful. I hadn't said that out loud. Cedric, welcome to the show, man. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on and reaching out when you saw Saucebox on LinkedIn. I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Right before we hit record, I was explaining to you that I saw it from Sean, who's also been on this podcast before, the founder of Dude Wipes. He purchased your product as part of something I think is such a cool idea. He buys a bunch of people's products, food, beverage, whatever it may be, before the holidays instead of buying, typical gifts that maybe people would gravitate towards. He tries to help entrepreneurs and startups, which is really cool. And then he always talks about them online. So that is how I found the product. For everyone listening who has no idea what Saucebox is, could you give everyone a quick overview of you and the product?
Yeah, for sure. So Saucebox is my rendition on what a sauce cup should be, specifically in the world of chicken wings. If you're an avid wing guy, kind of like I am, or just a social foodie, this cup, in my opinion, is the best revision on the current sauce cup that is out there. Instead of dipping everything, such as wings, from the top, you can actually dip it from the side and get sauce where it matters, instead of bothering your waitress or waiter 100 times to keep getting more sauce cups because you've wasted a ton by dipping your wing inefficiently.
When I saw the product and Sean was reviewing it, it's one of those products where, and I'm sure you've gotten this a lot, is just what a great idea. Why didn't I think of that? I have wings all the time. So I was like, what a brilliant idea. And I think the day I saw it, me and my wife literally had gotten, I can't remember what restaurant, but we had actually had wings. And I was going through the same thing where I had like an extra thing of ranch because there's like a bunch at the bottom you just never can get to.
Right.
So that was just so funny timing that I saw it. I'm assuming it's, the background and story behind it must have been what I just went through. But was there a specific moment where you all of a sudden were like, what the hell? I'm not going to keep doing this. I want to try to create something, because it's always a big leap, as we talk about on this podcast a lot, going from, oh yeah, I've experienced something similar, to actually being the person to go get the physical product, create the product, and bring it to market. So what was that like for you?
Yeah, I think it was a similar story, but if you talk to my wife, I'm a very dramatic person, right? So I wear my heart on my sleeve, and I'm like sitting there with this wing cup, and I'm just getting heated at it, and I'm like, there's got to be a better way. And then I just created it right on the spot, and this was in the depth of COVID, and I had no other option but to just make it, because we were stuck in our house. And so we have all these pictures, and we have a really cool shadow box too. The first ever sauce box was cut from a Diet Pepsi can.
Oh, you just did this yourself?
Yeah. I cut it out of a Diet Pepsi can. I showed it to my wife. She was like, "Whoa, I can kind of see where you're going, but that's not a very good mock-up." And so then, I got an old box, and I cut it out of cardboard and taped it up and made it pretty legit. And we sent that cardboard mock-up to a 3D printer and had them print it the exact way that we sent it to them. And then that was the start. We sent that off to somebody to draw it specifically, in a CAD design, and then we sent that to a manufacturer and got it stamped out.
And that right there, that feels like a huge leap for most people. when you're thinking about okay, let's say the first step, when you're making it out of the can, and then you decide to gravitate to the next thing and turn it into something out of cardboard. At that
Sure.
point, were you thinking this could be a business, or were you just being like, I want this for me?
Um, in your opinion, to your point, I guess like my opinion of the whole thing was like, I can create this for me, but if I'm having this problem, there's got to be millions of people having this problem. You
Sure.
know what I
Oh
mean?
yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I would like to think that I am not unreasonable in the way that we are traditionally accustomed to dipping our chicken wings. And so
Right.
I was like, why don't we just try it? The only thing that could happen is that it fails, and then we have a cool story behind it. So that's what we
Got it.
did.
That
Yeah.
makes sense. And then when you sent it off to a 3D printer, I always love to really dive deep into this 0 to 1. How did you even go about that? Were you just like Googling 3D printers near me? Like, how did you figure out where to even send that off to?
Yeah, exactly what you just said. I just Googled people near me because I knew that, and I'd love to expand on this actually too. When you're dealing in the realm of the unknown, like such as this cup, it is so unfamiliar that I thought it would be beneficial to actually be able to go and talk to the people and explain exactly what we need and exactly what we want.
That makes
And
sense. Versus
like,
like when you probably everyone that's listening has probably heard of people going like importing from China, for example, and trying to get a product cheaper overseas, right?
yeah, yeah. And we actually did that with our first round. So, and then we messed it up, and I had to redo it because of that gap in communication. Like when you're doing things in the realm of the unknown that people won't have any reference point off of, if
Mm-hmm.
there's anything in the CAD drawing, the 3D printing that you as a young entrepreneur don't think about, the manufacturers and the people that are making this, they're not going to hold your hand, right? They're going to make what you give them. And so when we got the first revision of the metal, like the stainless steel cups, they didn't stack.
Oh,
And
okay.
I was like, how did this not stack? Like what's going on? And went back to the CAD drawings, and we had the angles correct on the long side, but we had them vertical on or like 90 degrees on the short sides, like where the cutouts were. And me
What a
not,
small little thing.
yeah, I'm not like an engineer. It's like my profession was never like engineering or anything like that. So it didn't click with me until we messed it up.
Yeah, yeah. And what for people listening who maybe were thinking the same thing I was at first, what's the importance of them stacking? Just because you can have multiple in your pantry?
Yes, and I think it's a convenience thing, which actually leads me to a question that I talked to somebody about today, who was asking me about Saucebox. It's when I created this product, the guy was like, can we clean it very easily? Can it stack? Can it function like the next best alternative, but just be better?
Hmm.
So we did, you know, super thick stainless steel. We had it brushed, finished, like made a super high quality product. And I think that I should have really started more on the volume game and made them
Hmm.
maybe out of plastic before like a super quality, heavy duty cup. Because now we have a bunch of cups, and now we're breaking into a realm of the unknown and educating people, but with a little bit higher price point. And I think to get people to try something, it would be better to be at a slightly lower price point than we are currently.
Got it. Because how much do they cost today?
So right now they're $18.50, and then if you buy two, you get free shipping.
Okay. Got it.
Yeah,
Nice. Okay. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that makes
We,
sense. So if you would have come
we
out with plastic, it could have probably been,
yeah,
a pretty decent clip
yeah.
cheaper than that.
We do have we have sets of two for sale, but
Okay.
interestingly enough, no one bought the set of two.
Hmm. Okay.
Like 100% of our orders were sets of one.
Really?
Or sorry,
Okay.
sets of four.
Just
And I was like, is there nobody out there that just has two
wants
people?
two. Oh, that's kind of funny. Did you ever
Yeah.
figure out why or ever have a hunch?
No, I,
No?
I just kind of took it down because I thought that, if people didn't really want it, then it was more or less like a distraction on the site. And so just
Right.
giving
Oh,
people
that's
what they
really
want.
interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Huh. You must just
Yep.
have some true wing connoisseurs that are purchasing this product then. You must have some, you know what I mean? Like people who must have a group of people or something. That's funny.
Yeah. Yeah. Or
Okay.
want to
So
give it away. I don't know.
yeah, right. So you send this off for 3D printing.
Hmm.
You have some issues. You keep working through them. At this point, what's your life like? Are you all of a sudden like, hey, I think this could be a big business. Like, I'm gonna quit my job. Like, be curious. I'm sure everyone's listening would be so curious that like a product like this. What's so interesting is it's something that probably a million people have at one point been like, what I have today sucks, but they never took the intuition to
Right.
go and make it. You did. What's it like when you get the 3D printed object back? What happens then? Are you like, I need to launch a website? Like, what are some of the steps that you took immediately to try to get this out there, and what were you trying to do?
Um, the very first step that I took was I actually called a patent attorney and I
Oh,
sent
that's
it to
smart.
them. And because I was like, okay, I'm gonna try and disrupt an industry product that has been a staple for as long as I've been alive. I've never known any other cup that other than the Circle Cup.
Did
And
you
I was,
look for at first too? Like, did you go on Amazon and try to search for this, and Google and try to
yeah,
search for this? Did you do all that before you did your own?
yep.
Yeah,
And there's a couple different revisions of like a wing cup out there, but I just felt pretty strongly about mine, and we can get into the alternative
sure.
uses a little bit later too,
Okay.
because it goes far beyond wings. But I was like, if this really goes somewhere, I should have it patented.
Hmm.
And then we got the patent. We got 4
Oh, good
patents
for you.
actually on the cups. So on multiple different facets of the cups, which I did not think that we were going to do, we got that. And I'm glad that we did because one of the questions in the patent process is like, have you released it to the public?
Oh,
And I don't know if that is a deal breaker or not, and or what that limit is. I think it's like if you're and not an attorney, so I'm not confident on this, but I think it's like if you're over a year, like if it's been into the public eye for over a year, you can't apply for the patent or something like that.
oh, because at that point,
Um,
people could have run and done their own iterations that
yeah,
they're going to patent. Interesting. So it's actually
yeah,
more advantageous to do it before you launch it.
very much, very much. If you guys are doing anything or the listeners are doing anything, it's the 200-300 bucks that it's going to take you to call an attorney if they charge for their consultation is going to pay you dividends if you actually have something that's patentable. Because if you don't do it and you are unable to patent it and it gets taken, like, you're sunk
Well, it
in
was
the.
funny. That was going to be my next
So,
question. Was this like hundreds, thousands, 10,000? How much does it cost to get something patented?
no, it's actually really not that much. I think uh 6 to 10,000 for 4
Okay.
different patents, and that's all the way from you have to pay for the patents, the time that the lawyers do it, filing fees. Like there's just a bunch of little costs that end
That's
up
like
adding up.
all baked in, you with your
Yeah.
patent in hand, or 4 patents in hand.
Hmm.
Okay.
Yes,
So what
yes.
are the 4 things you got patented?
So we got the overall design of the cup patented, which is super cool. We have a design with only one cutout patented.
Mm,
So like, we're like, what if people only want one? Then we got to pivot.
yeah.
Um, then on recommendation from the lawyers, we got the corners and the different um, corner combinations, if you will, patented. So
Okay.
so I guess when you start getting into design patents, um, they're very tricky, right? Because if you can make a design that is reasonably different than somebody else's design, I guess that is technically your intellectual property.
Oh,
So
okay. Yeah.
so we went through like all the different revisions that could possibly be revised, um, and applied for those to see how much we could get really from it. So
Very cool. Well, good for
yes.
you. So that was early on. Did you have that before you even decided to launch your own website?
Yes. So I guess like how that works is like you can be patent pending and
Yeah.
then you still have all the rights, like as assuming that you're going to be granted the patent.
Got it. Okay. So if someone did copy you during that process, technically you could kind of go after them even while it's pending.
Um, I'm not. I believe so, but
And I'm
not
asking you
necessarily
legal
like
questions, so I
go. Yeah,
apologize. You're like, I don't
yeah, yeah.
know.
I don't know like the intricacy of that
Yeah.
because I think where it comes down to is the filing date. Like it would at that point it would kind of have to be like, will you show me your cards? I'm gonna show you mine, and then what,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
then we'll have
Yeah.
to.
Yeah. I could actually maybe open the door for more issues versus
Yeah,
saving you.
right. So it is what it is, and I'm glad that we didn't have to go through that, if
For
you will.
sure. Yeah, 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 no doubt. So you get some patents. Wow, first of all, 4 patents. That's cool. I mean,
Yeah.
I haven't heard of very many folks that have done that, especially on this podcast. So you get 4 patents. And then was the website the first place you guys actually launched for sale? Or did you do anything in person? Where did you sell this at first?
At first we posted it on Facebook, for
Hmm.
kind of a, like friends and family. Hey, if you like this, like we're gonna pre-sale it. We posted it on a barbecue, Facebook community post, um, and we ended up selling the first like 500 units that we had. Um, I just decided to call the manufacturer and get them flown in, so that we could sell it for Christmas last year.
Oh, okay.
And
And when did you launch this? When did you do the Facebook posts and all this? A
we
year ago?
did it, yeah, like last October, November.
Okay. Yeah, yeah, so it's been
Um,
a little over a year.
yep. And in between that, we actually ended up bringing the entire offer back down. So
Hmm.
we were selling and we were bubble wrapping the sets of 4 and just sending them out. And
Okay.
as you grow through your entrepreneurial journey, you'll start to look at the way that you're doing things and like how you're portrayed or how your brand is portrayed, if you will.
Sure.
And I was like, this just doesn't look very nice,
Like someone's paying for a nice premium product that's engineered and well thought, and then it doesn't look very good when you get it in person.
Right, right. So we ended up pulling everything back. We went and hooked up with a really awesome small packaging supplier here in the Carolinas called Morset Packaging, and they crushed the packaging design. And part of that process, which is what I was very thankful for, was they were kind of hearing me out in terms of like how do we educate people on what this cup does and
Mm,
how it does things. And I started saying, a lot of different ideas of how our current customers are using it. So one customer sent us a picture of they had their chopsticks resting in both of the cutouts and the soy sauce in the bottom of the cup when they were eating sushi. So we put that on the back.
I saw that
Um,
on your website, and I was like, "Oh,
yeah,
that's a smart use for this."
yeah. We had some more that talked about like chocolate covered strawberries, like how it'd be perfect to like roll a chocolate covered strawberry in. Um, we had another customer send us a picture at an oyster roast where they had the utensil, like the spoon, sitting in the cup so that it didn't get, the sauce, cocktail sauce all over the table.
Yeah.
And so like the way that it's like organically like morphing itself into completely different uses than it was supposed to is super cool to see.
Well, and I would tell you too, Cedric, that the name you picked was smart, and I don't know if that was on purpose or by luck a little bit, because like you mentioned, something that directly correlated to wings. It probably from a marketing perspective, maybe would have like cornered you a little bit more.
Yeah, it's a great call out because we had that same conversation when we were going through it. So I'm kind of a dreamer on that side, and we called it Wing Caddy. Like
Hmm.
that was going to be the company name. And I was like, you know, we do this, and all this. And somebody's like, well, what if you launch a sauce? You're just going to call it wing sauce? Like, how are you going to get around like your brand name?
Yeah.
And that was one of my close friends that said that, and I was like, you're right. We can't do that.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
We
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
come up with like now a parent company name. So we came up with Saucebox, and that was a community post. It was fun on Facebook and Instagram where we listed uh, 3 different names. We had Sauce Hoss, Sauce Box, and American Wingpin.
Okay,
Like a
I love
spin
it.
on the movie, yeah, American
Yeah.
Kingpin. And uh, that was that was one of my college friends and my collaboration, and it got absolutely destroyed. on Instagram and Facebook.
Oh,
Like
really?
nobody
No one
voted for
wanted that one.
it. Yeah, so,
I think Saucebox was the move. I think you landed
yeah.
on the right one. That's fun. I mean, it's smart though to use because it's probably a lesson in there. That was a funny little aside, but like in reality, that really is probably a really good lesson for anyone listening when you're launching. It sounds like Cedric, you did a really good job of kind of like pulsing things out through social channels, trying to get feedback and reiterating.
Yes. I think that we did that because we weren't 100% sold that this was a good idea at the
Mm-hmm.
point of, and so we were really trying to socially like validate the idea as we were building it. Like we were building the plane in flight, if you will.
Sure. Yeah.
So
That's really interesting. So you're iterating, you launch. It sounds like the launch went well. How did it go once you guys actually launched your website? Once it was more like I would call it like public.
it went all right. So there's a lot of things that I wish I would have done better
Hmm.
throughout this entire journey. And I think, it's my first like big entrepreneurial lift. And I think that I learned so much in the last year on really how to bring a product to market. It's the classic story of like, I was like, man, if I just build this, people are going to see it and they're going to love it. And
Mm-hmm.
then after we started creating it and doing it, you're fighting through so much noise on all the different social channels. You're fighting through so much noise in everybody's life. And to bring a product into the market that is more of a convenience and not a necessity, you got to double down on that, right? You got to double down on like making it fun. You got to double down on having something that is easily recognizable and that they can understand the need. And what we aim for is like 3 seconds or less
Oh,
with the
okay. Yeah.
packaging. And so, the packaging here, like on the
Oh, I
top,
love that.
as it sits on a shelf, people see Saucebox, and then they'll be able to recognize, like on the very top, what it is. And then we have some branding, and then we just have different instructions, like on the back too.
Oh, I love that.
So
That's you guys did a really good job of really maximizing the real estate on that.
yes, and that's all within where we fell short in the early launch process of not being able to educate and getting people to purchase. But now, when people see it, they can make that connection through a visual cue
Mm-hmm.
with the drawing instead of them having to try and connect themselves to it and understand it. And so now it brings more excitement.
Yeah. No, for sure. And
Yes.
so okay, that's wild. I'm trying to think back. So launching on website for you at that point, it sounds like you got some traction. I mean, you can tell from seeing it if
Yep.
everyone was watching. Depends if you were watching or not. Cedric just threw up the packaging, and it's really well thought out. When you guys launch and you start getting some traction, whether it was what you thought it would be or not, at this point, do you still have like a full-time job? Are you still doing anything else on the side? Is Saucebox your main focus? I'm always curious when people make the leap to try to launch something. What else is going on in their life?
Yes, so at this point, I did have a full-time job. I was managing operations at Amazon.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so through a couple months, um, I had also talked to some friends who decided to take a different career path out of Amazon, and kind of my comfort zone being data and modeling. I ended up leaving Amazon too and doing more of my expertise, which is in data aggregation or data collection
Okay.
and modeling for real estate, small business, different things like that, and while working on Saucebox too. So my wife and I decided that if we don't take the leap and try, we will never give it a full effort.
Right.
And so we decided, let's take the leap, let's do it. We just ordered 2 cases of the disposable plastic with lids. So those are going to be coming in. We're going to send those out to restaurants, see if we can't drum up some demand there.
Nice. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, to try and we believe that will also help with more of our direct-to-consumer branding, right? Because as consumers are out in the marketplace and they're using or eating at their favorite wing shops, or different places that adopt and and they're interacting with our product, and then they go on to see, now they're an informed buyer, so they know what they're looking for, and they're like, oh wow, they have a stainless steel version, which is very nice quality. We can have that for the house,
Yeah.
right?
Okay.
And not just
Sure.
something like that. So we're trying to pivot in a little bit of a way to help with that education piece, so that consumers or customers are a little bit more familiar with the cup and how it behaves, so that when they see it online or in retail stores or something like that, they can just go ahead and be like, I
I
love that.
feel like this could be a really viral like TikTok sensation where you have people going into like Buffalo Wild Wings and like hitting off the shitty plastic circular cups and then drop your sauce box. I think we have a whole
Yeah,
idea. We gotta brainstorm offline.
yeah, yeah. It's really interesting. Um, we pitched Buffalo Wild Wings like
Oh,
the
did you? I
first
was gonna
two,
say that would be such a
yeah,
perfect, obvious
but
fit.
the first 2 or 3 months that we had the cup, I drove to Atlanta, which is 2.5 hours from me, and I pitched Inspire Brands on it.
Oh, cool.
And they it did not make their priorities list for 2023, and I
Okay.
and I believe that it was because we were stainless, and that would be a big lift. So
It'd
you
probably be
would have to
expensive for
convert,
them,
yeah,
right?
super expensive.
Yeah.
You'd have to convert 1,300 stores almost to full stainless, and that might put more pressure on their kitchen now that they have to wash, all these cups and do stuff like that. And so
Sure.
I'm really hoping that they give us like a second try when we
Yeah.
get, the disposable plastic with lids in, because I think that'd be super cool. A super cool, organic story about just creating the wing cup, going up
Right.
there and
Yeah,
and
yeah.
getting in
Well,
it.
hey, if they're
So
listening to this, it's funny that you never know. We've actually had people. I interview a lot of food and beverage brands because my background is in food and beverage,
yeah.
and we've had some buyers listen to this podcast and actually get retail meetings from it. So you never know.
Oh, I love that. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
you
Hit
never
me
know.
up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There we go. Well, Cedric's info will
DM
be in
me.
the show notes. That's
Yeah.
really interesting. Yeah, because I can imagine like all of the major, like Wingstop,
Yeah.
Hooters, Buffalo Wild Wings, all those places. I mean, doesn't Hooters use? For some reason, I feel like they do use metal, like a metal. One of them does. I thought one of the other wing places I'm thinking of that I've been to uses some sort of metal cups instead of plastic. I could be
Um,
totally wrong. You would know better than me.
it's interesting you asked that, because I asked that same question 6 months ago. I saw Buffalo Wild Wings release a commercial, and they had the metal cup in the commercial, and I was
I
like,
was
wait a
gonna
second,
say. I
are they
feel like
using
I
metal cups?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I was gonna say, I feel like I've seen this somewhere. Now that I'm
But
thinking about it,
yeah,
now I'm gonna
but
be
then
all
when I
over it,
went
Cedric.
back, it's not like I can't find them anywhere. So I'm like, maybe they're not. Maybe it was just like a commercial prop.
You could totally
But
see them doing that in a commercial just to look a little bit more like
uh,
pro Earth or whatever the hell you want to call
yeah.
it.
Well, now we got to send it to them,
Yeah, we got to. Yeah, there you
and
go.
just get them to trial it out. I think it's gonna go on the commercial side, because I think that I like to equate this in a way to the Popeyes versus Chick-fil-A chicken sandwich marketing push from Popeyes, right? You
Mm-hmm.
release like a new wing cup on a marketing play, it's almost, people are gonna be like, hold on,
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah, for
for
sure.
real? And they're
Yeah,
gonna have to go and like try it out, So it's like,
100%. It's
they're
definitely something that it's not just marketing. It's something as a consumer you could like you'll be able to try it and it'll change your experience, which is so cool. Which is why I want to have
yeah,
you on. I'm like, this is actually really smart and really
for
interesting
sure. We
business.
we have people all the time. I had somebody the other day tell me that they were so tired of using the circular cups, they took the sauce box to the restaurant.
that
It,
is
it just
that is
had it on their
devotion.
table. I
That
was
is
like,
dedication. I love it. That's a
that's
consumer that you got to make sure
incredible.
you stay, just keep giving them new product and make sure you're on their, on
Yeah,
their favorite list.
right. Well, I was like, man, I thought I was the only one that had done that, because I did it for like content reasons,
Oh, for
right?
sure. Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
people, it's starting to, I think, turn into this. You don't need it until you need it, and you don't know you need it until you have it, and it's just a lot better experience. We get people all the time that they're asking me questions, and I send them like a video of how you dip it normally, and then you can lean it on its side because the shape of it.
Okay.
And when the sauce gets low, you can like brush the sauce onto the long side and like just wipe the bottom of like the side of the cup.
Oh, wow.
And so yeah, so it's the crazy ways that we figured that we can dip this cup is super cool, and I think it creates, again, a lot of like aha moments where
Oh,
you're
I
just like,
bet.
whoa,
Yeah, that's what I
that's
was saying. I
crazy.
feel like this could easily become something you start seeing on TikTok and
Yeah.
Instagram Reels. It feels ready for a viral moment.
Feels ready.
Yeah, right?
Right.
Um, so you launching your website. Did you guys in the first year here, have you pushed to try anywhere else? Like knowing you worked at Amazon, did you guys launch on Amazon or anywhere else like that?
So yes, we launched our website on Shopify. Amazing platform, super easy. Launched on Amazon. That's a very tricky game
Mm-hmm.
to play,
Yeah.
and bootstrapping it, it's a little bit difficult because you can blow an advertising budget very, very quickly on Amazon, but you can also not get in front of the right people. And we've actually found success, for anybody who has a Amazon store out there, you might already
Yeah.
know this, but I just found it out, is changing your product title to something that pertains to the next upcoming holiday or reason, right? So
Okay. Yeah, yeah.
we put stocking stuffer in it this year, like in our title. And so, as people did that, it was like searching for stocking stuffers, we would pop up. We're still pretty low ranked, because a lot of people, and my wife educated me on this, she filters by Prime and by 5-star reviews. So if it's
Yeah.
not on
So do I.
Prime and not 5-star reviews, she's not buying it.
That's on
And
my end
so,
too, in the same way.
yeah, so I'm like trying to get the people who are buying on Amazon to give us some reviews so we can build the review section of that.
Right.
We're changing the title to get, more keyword searching in there. And that's really our two main places. We've decided that I felt that just the volume was not where I wanted it to be, right? And I just want us to be able to,
This is Amazon or as a whole company?
just as a whole, is like I really want to give the best effort that I can with that, and not let the company just continue to underperform and me become disenchanted with it, right?
Sure. Yeah, yeah.
So quickly, like as I was watching for a couple months and we are doing, spending advertising here, there, Amazon, Shopify, it was what it was. I was like, maybe our formula is wrong. I got to go back to the drawing board. So we decided to do disposable plastic with lids. So now we're going to bring that in, and now we're going to push it out to restaurants and see if we can't get a little bit more customer engagement, that now when they see the product, they're more apt to buy it and or go searching for it. And so that's a pivot point that I want to test out to just see if we can't get a little bit more engagement, because I think that's the most important part.
Love it. I mean, and for any brand that's, D2C, Amazon, going from, it's going to sound counterintuitive maybe for people listening, but like going to plastic, that's got a lot of benefits from a shipping perspective, economics perspective, especially on Amazon. We can talk about it offline, but that's actually what I do. So me and
Okay.
my co-founder, we actually started a Amazon non-agency agency. So
Yeah.
we help scale RX Bar, the protein bar
Yeah.
company, and then
Love that.
now we do that for food and beverage and products across Amazon and other e-commerce platforms. So I'm intimately involved on Amazon, so I know what you're dealing with. And
Yeah.
switching to, I'm sure shipping to plastic, I'm sure you've already figured that out, but that should save you guys so much on FBA fees and just shipping things more economically, and probably hitting some price points that are a little bit more appetizing to consumers to, have habitual. Even this product could be a subscription product, I would think,
Yep.
plastic wise.
Yeah. And today, when we were talking about it, again, I was like, we broke into an unknown space and we had
Mm-hmm.
to try and educate people. So to want to get people to purchase a product to try it out, you have to be at a price point which is okay to waste in a way. And I say that not that, that our product is a waste, because I do believe that it is honestly way better than the current cup out there, but it's such a point where people are like, "Oh, I will try that for whatever,"
Right.
right? And
Yeah.
so if it's $7 and we sell a sleeve of 50, right? Or that's arbitrary, but it's $7. Why shouldn't I try this?
Sure.
Right?
Oh yeah, yeah.
And
Right.
instead of it being, oh, if I buy this, it's $18 and it's heavy stainless steel. Now I have a kitchen gadget just in a drawer and I never use it. So that's how I wanted to kind of attack that too, is can I get a revision of the cup that is at a better price point to where people are more interested in trying it so that they don't feel the pressure of having it and then having to feel that they have to use it if they don't like it.
Right. Okay. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Yeah, it's like a getting to a price point where it's not this huge mental gymnastics of whether it's worth it or not.
Right,
And I'm sure
right.
for you guys, I keep saying it, I don't know why it's not like I know that much about it, but have you guys tried like TikTok Shop or any of those newer selling platforms?
We are on TikTok. Uh, I don't do the best job at TikToks. A little bit
I
about me.
wouldn't
I'm
either.
just
I
I'm
yeah.
just an objective person. And
Uh-huh.
so my idea of content is like I'm just gonna dip the wing in this cup and people will buy it. And
Yeah,
that's
I
not
know. It
at
makes sense.
all
Yeah.
that's not at all what content is about. You have to
Hmm.
actually, have a good thumbnail and you have to hook them and you have to give them that that brand persona or that brand emotion to
Yeah.
push them into like your product. And that's something that I've really tried to dedicate myself into learning is how do I bring out people's emotion to a point that can connect them to buy. And
Yeah, right.
and I think Sean's really good at it.
Oh
And
yeah,
and
he's just
Dude
so
Wipes,
authentic, and I
right.
mean, as to say, your product kind of reminds me. That's what I was actually about to say. It reminds me of a similar opportunity where
Yeah,
Dude Wipes is just. I mean, they've built that whole business. It feels like on authenticity, and it just they have such a on brand way of communicating. The way he talks about it, the way he
right.
jokes about it. I feel like you guys could easily do the same thing. You guys could even have very similar people who are promoting it. It just feels like the
Right.
same kind of guy, that you would expect
Yeah.
to have Dude Wipes to be the same guy with Saucebox. Just again, just my anecdotal
Yeah,
perspective,
right.
but yeah, it's a good point.
Well, that's, I follow Sean and I watch Dude Wipes a lot because I do think that they are similar opportunity bands, and I'm trying to like learn from how that they market in that, you know, way that every time you look at a piece of their content, you're like smiling or laughing, and
Yeah,
then
right.
you see their product, you're like, hey, I love those guys, I love that product, and so then we have it here at the house
Yeah,
because we
yeah,
love their marketing, we love their team, we love the product, and I think that's the couple pieces that I'm missing is like, I'm just focused on putting the product out there and
yeah.
and getting people to see the product instead of getting people to also enjoy the brand, right?
Yeah, and
And
it
so
feels
that's
like with physical products more so than like my world's always it's been for the longest time been food, beverage, where it's like, you need people to be buying it, eating it, drinking it
hmm
kind of consistently. It seems like for stuff like a sauce box or a Dude Wipes, it almost feels more important to like capture these viral moments. So like if you can get it into the right hands of somebody,
right,
or like sauce box. I mean, again, I'm just throwing ideas out here, but you get someone well known to post a picture where their goal wasn't to promote sauce box, but they're just using it, and somehow someone got a picture of that. Dude Wipes has
right.
done such a good job of that, where they get like these free marketing opportunities where they screenshot it and then they promote it, and it's from
Yeah.
something everyone knows. Saucebox feels like you guys are just a moment away from that happening, in my opinion. Because it's just like people, as soon as they use it, they'll love it, and
Right.
again, I haven't tried it, but I'm assuming just from seeing it,
Yeah.
it
Well,
seems like that.
you know, that's what keeps us going is whenever we actually get to talk to people who have Saucebox, they love it. Even some of the people who've criticized it, it's not that they don't like the idea, it's that they want it like a little bit bigger or a little
Oh,
bit
sure.
longer
Yeah,
or
yeah,
or a different dimension of it. And
yeah,
so the design is there and people love it, but they're which if they have big wings or small wings or that first interaction, like, oh, this needs to be an eighth of an inch wider. I'm like, okay.
yeah. Right.
Or some people were like, oh, well, sometimes when I like how I dip my wing, if the cup is super full, it comes out of the other cutout of the other side. And then I'm like, man, should we make the cup with the one cutout instead of the two? But then we have other customers that are like, I love it for chopsticks, or I love it to put my silverware on, or this or that, or share is like, kind of a communal sauce and that has spoons and stuff like that. And so, we fight all the time, my wife and I, about like how do we pivot this like in the perfect,
Sure.
in the
Like a
perfect
perfect,
way.
yeah.
And so we just like go back and forth. We're like, you know, one side of our audience loves this, the other side of our audience loves this. Maybe we should just keep it the same because it seems that we're doing the right thing. And so, uh, I think it's
I
classic entrepreneurial stuff.
Yeah, I was gonna say it sounds like it. I was gonna ask for people listening who maybe are trying to do something similar as far as like where they are in their entrepreneurial journey. Where would you say you guys are if I were to ask you that question before you just said all that? How much is there like a level of listening to your customers that's good? And is there a level where maybe it's like too much listening and you kind of just have to put your head down and keep going? Like I'm sure there's probably like a fine line that you're always trying to find.
I think that you have to listen to your audience to a point where it is not detrimental to your mission.
Hmm.
Meaning, like, you can't change your product every week. And there are going to be people out there who hate your idea because they hate your idea. And there's nothing you can do about that. But that's also the people who you're not trying to sell to. And that's
Hmm.
okay,
Right.
right? And so with Saucebox, there's people out there that don't like it and they think it's stupid. But I don't think it's stupid, and there's a lot of other people that don't think it's stupid because they see the need for it, and those are our customers. But the people who have no need for it, they don't need to buy it, and
Yeah.
I think that's the beauty of it too, right? Is as you create a product, you don't need to sell it to everyone. And if there are customers who are giving you awesome, valid feedback, definitely listen to them. But if it's things that really don't change the intent and in the materiality of the cup, then maybe just put that one to the side, right? Like the the review that we got that said, it needed to be like an eighth of an inch wider. I wrote that one down. Hey, maybe on the next revision or the next cup, if we make it out of a different material, I'll make it an eighth of an inch wider.
Hmm.
But
Right.
it's no, that's not enough of a reason, in my opinion, to completely redo our stamping molds, completely give up on what we have right now, because it's just that's a perfect world scenario. So that's
Sure.
Saucebox 2.0, right? We're on
Yeah.
1.0 right now. So
Yeah, yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah, yeah. No, that makes sense. That totally makes sense. So it seems like you guys, you've got some traction. You obviously are, like you said, you're at 1.0, which I always find is so fun to have you on the podcast because you've kind of gotten through enough where you obviously have some product market fit. You've got some validation, but like the ceiling is so far away, I'm sure, for you guys. And I'm sure you feel that.
yep.
What for everyone listening today, what's on Cedric's plate as far as, big three for 2024? Like if we were to do this podcast a year from now, what are some of the big things you're hoping to accomplish in the next year for Saucebox?
Yeah, so next year for Saucebox, I really want to do three big things, two that I'm actively pushing for right now. Uh, Bringing in the disposable plastic, would love to get, some restaurants that demand generating. That should be here, first week in January, those two cases. I'm thinking that we should have probably 300 to 400 cups, and I want to take that, split it into five sleeves of five, and send it out to 100, 200 restaurants to see if they can, whatever it will hold, to see if they want some.
Nice. Yeah.
Second thing is, love to lock down, our first retailer. We had the awesome opportunity to go to Walmart's open call. Such an
Cool.
incredible, event. They gave us some homework. We got back to them with the homework, and so we're hoping, in 2024 that we wrap that up and get to test. And so that's another big thing for us. And then the third thing that I would love to try, because I think it will be a really cool collaboration is to get with a sauce or a seasoning, and we just do a nice collaboration box, right? And
Makes
send
so
it
much
out.
sense. If anyone's listening, what would be like one or two sauce brands that you would love to partner with?
So there's three that I would really love to get on board with. Um, One is Lola's, and if you haven't tried it, definitely try it. It's an amazing sauce. Met the owner at Walmart's open call too, so that was awesome to
Oh,
do.
cool. I've never heard of that one.
Yep. And the next one is like a Kinder's, just because they have a massive brand presence.
Oh yeah.
And I think that that would be a really cool one, and I love their packaging. And the third one is Dano's, is because I just felt like that they were like such an overnight success
Yeah.
that I was like, wow, like that would be cool to partner with them. And then also, you have the like the massive sauce brands. So like
Yeah.
the Hidden Valleys that would be incredible to run like a ranch collaboration, with the cup, or Truff just got,
I was gonna say Truff. That was
a
the one I had in my
massive
mind.
investment,
Yeah.
yeah, from the Kardashian side, which is super cool. Yeah, there's a ton of sauces out there that I'd love to that I love that are in my fridge that I would accept a collaboration from any of
Hell
them.
yeah, for sure.
So,
Well, there you go, man. Hopefully someone hears this and you
yep,
can get one. That makes so much sense to me. Like that would be such an organic way to try it.
yep,
It's one thing I talk about a lot, and so does my co-founder. It'd be cool if more brands try to do that, even on Amazon. Like try to launch like a combined product. On the back they can figure out how they like split everything up. But
right.
that's one that you just like. It's never. I don't really ever think I've ever seen it done. Like some people do it on D2C for sure, but really cool. That's a really great goal. I have a feeling Walmart's going to come back with some positive news. This seems like a really interesting opportunity for them. And to be honest, most brands I talk to, I actually say the opposite, where I'm like, Walmart's probably not going to be your perfect consumer. But I don't know.
Yeah,
I could see this being like, sauce boxes, like the cup. I
right.
feel like that actually could probably have some pretty healthy velocities at Walmart.
Yeah, yeah, I think so. And I think Walmart would have a very good offering in terms of being able to, like, let's say we just trialed it in South Carolina where I'm at. We could get nice economies of scale and drop
Mm,
the price point on like a good reusable plastic. And I think that would be perfect too, right?
right.
Is we can run, some of the stainless in there, and which I think would do very well in the kitchen goods side too. But also too, maybe we just do reusable plastics or the plastic sleeves by the sauces, and hopefully uh, they'll see that. The merchants that I met with are awesome. Like all of them were super awesome. They enjoyed the idea. They loved the idea, right? But like any business, it's got to be perfect for them as it does for
Sure.
for us. And so
Yeah.
I know that they're working on their due diligence, and they do a ton of planning in their respective sectors of the store. So it's not a short process, but we didn't get a no. And when I actually talked to the Dude Wipes team, the Lola's team, and the University of Arkansas at Open Call. I had a brief break in between my meetings trying to brush up on some of my skills and presentation. And they were all like, just do it, do it the same way, maybe add a tweak here or there, but you didn't get a no. Like if you got a no, I would say change it, but you didn't. And so that's still a huge success.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, hell yeah, man. Congratulations on that. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
So, for everyone listening, they know this, but Cedric, I love to kind of wind it down the podcast with a couple questions that I'm excited to
Yeah.
hear from you. The first one is just so, being a founder of a brand, you obviously have a million different things going on. I saw on your website too, and you mentioned obviously you're married, you have a little one, so there's a lot going on in your life.
Hmm.
What tools do you put around you to, create yearly goals, whether it's even longer than that, all the way down to like getting shit done today and what's most important for Cedric and Saucebox? Are you a pen and paper guy, a planner guy? Do you have some apps? Just what do you use to get shit done?
Yeah. So it's an amazing question. I'm actually really glad that you asked it. So I I'm a huge pen and paper guy, and planner guy. So and I follow two. key figures that I really enjoy in terms of day-to-day operations. And one is Grant Cardone for more of my mind framework. Like, how do I look at big goals and how do I approach big goals and setting big goals and daily goals, if you will. And then another one that I think is more of a tactician that I really key into, and I make sure that I'm, you know, writing down and rereading the books to get everything, is Alex Hormozy. So I am massive on those two. I listen to both of those two every day, and I follow, Grant in terms of shifting my mind and my frameworks to achieve big things, and then I follow Alex to hone in all of my little skills and read
Okay.
everything that he's doing and trying to mirror that and just making it as simple as possible. He also talks a lot about Alex Hormozy talks a lot about what you need to do today. And a lot of it is you need to do what is required. And so regardless of what's going on, like if something is required to do to move on, just got to do it. And so that's kind of how I do my day-to-days. Is there things that I know that I have to do? Yes. Then it's not done until you do them, right? And then for the big stuff, it's, writing down goals that are far beyond what I actually believe is possible. And that's from the Cardone or the 10x side. And it's because, even if you don't reach that, where will you be if you're always aiming to get there? So I do that. I write everything down on a law pad. I have probably 20 of them, and I write it down for more memory than I do to go back and revisit. And
Okay.
so it's like just a massive stack of law pads that I like
Yeah.
just jot
Yeah.
notes down.
Okay.
So,
Love it.
yeah.
I hadn't heard of Alex. What's his last name again?
Hormozy.
Okay,
Alex
I'm
Hormozy.
sure I've seen him at some point, but I've actually never heard of him. I know Grant Cardone, so I'll have to follow up and listen to some of his stuff. That's really cool.
Yep.
So the process, as far as the process goes, it's all on legal paper. Do you find that there's benefit to having it on paper versus, you said you're a data guy like me, so like versus like an Excel sheet or a Google sheet or something digital?
I like to have my stuff on paper because I feel that it sometimes gives me a break from the screen. And when I'm looking at data, for the other side of the business, it's all screen time, and I'm looking at numbers all the time. And I
Yeah.
feel that when I can get away from that it helps, just give me a break a little bit. And so that's
Mm-hmm.
why I do that. And I'm also, the best way that I learn is I do, and the best way that I remember is doing. So when I need to remember something or when I need to learn something, I write it down because the motion of that just helps me learn it. And I've always been that way, I guess.
Love it. Yeah. I every time I've like dabbled kind of back into an app or technology, I always run back to my physical planner. It's so funny, like even as like my business has grown and I feel like I've gotten more busier, obviously, like I'm a dad too. It's funny how like just going back to pen and paper almost like grounds you and just like,
Yeah.
okay, dumbass, you can't do it all in one day. Like the app makes me feel like I should be able to do. Like what's actually important, get it done today. I know for me, it's like a constant push and pull that I have to like just stick with the pen and paper. It's there. It's gonna work.
Yeah. I'll be honest too, like, it makes me feel like shit when I don't cross everything off on my list. You know what I mean?
Same.
Like,
Oh yeah.
the list like nags at me the longer
Mm-hmm.
I let it like sit there. And
Yeah.
so I'm a big like gotta
Yeah.
cross it off.
There's something for me too. I use something called a full focus planner. Again, not getting into the weeds. It's like you set up your yearly goals and then you have like a weekly big three. So it kind of makes you be like, okay, like this week, what are three big things that help me get one step closer? And then you have the same thing every day. And so for me, it's funny, like if I getting towards the end of the day or if I'm working at night, I'm like, I don't want to have to rewrite this tomorrow, but it's important enough that I would have to rewrite it tomorrow. So it's either like knock it out now or, you know what I mean? It's even something as small as that, whereas like with tech, you just drag it or copy it over.
Yeah.
There's something about writing it down. I think you just get more stuff done in general.
Yeah.
The next question, Cedric, is source of knowledge. So you mentioned two guys that obviously deploy a ton of knowledge, but if you've read, listened, or watched anything specifically recently that you want to share with the audience today, could you do that now? So basically like a book, a podcast, an article, anything that you think is worth mentioning and sharing as a source of knowledge.
Yeah, for sure. And I would say this really like, I mean this 100% because I don't read books. And I have read Alex Hormozy's $100 million offers and $100 million leads twice through each. And I'm going back through some of the larger Grant Cardone books, like larger mindset ones. And it's because I really do believe that if you're a small business owner and or you're just in like in your career, in your job, making sure that you have the right framework to further exceed whatever your goals are or believe that you can exceed your goals is massively important. And in a lot of even the Alex Hormozy books, which are more like the tactician books for creating an offer and finding leads, there's stuff in there that breaks it down to the fundamentals and the stuff that you have to do just to succeed. And so, one of my most favorite pages in one of the books is where he explains that he was going through a trial and somebody's like, you got to trial this out. And he sent out 300 mailers, like put 300 mailers on windshield wipers.
Okay.
And he got one lead back. And the lead came back that, he actually scratched the guy's car, but he immediately hung up the phone. Or the guy said that he scratched his car. Well, he called his mentor, was like, it didn't work. Like, that doesn't work. His mentor was like, well, how many people did you test with? And he said 300. And the guy started laughing and was like, dude, we test with 5,000.
Yeah.
And like, then if it's successful 1%, we do 5,000 every day for the next X days. And I think if you boil that back to the fundamentals of that, is it takes a lot of effort to be successful and people just give up too early.
Yeah.
And I think that those two guys, those books, and the Grant Cardone books and the Alex Hormozy books really helped me get beyond that level of this is where most people stop, and if I can just keep going, I'm better off.
Love that. And I'm gonna have to get both those books. The Alex one sounds really interesting to me too.
Yeah.
That's a guy I'm surprised I haven't been sucked into his world yet.
Yeah.
Very cool. Well, thank you, Cedric. And the last question, most important question is,
Yes.
people listening, how can they get a hold of you or just follow your story? And most importantly, how can they try Saucebox and get that in their home?
Yes. So Cedric Corbett on LinkedIn. I'm pretty sure my cell phone number's on there. Give me a call. Any of our socials, I think it's _ the Saucebox on Instagram and Facebook page. You can find us there. Our website is get-saucebox.com. I am plugged into all of those sites. If you want to hit me up, feel free. My number's on all the sites too. Shoot me a text, shoot me a call. I'll do my best to answer it right away. Sometimes I don't answer calls, and so just shoot me a text. That's the best way to get a hold of me. If you just want to say, hey, DM us, text me. Anything.
Love it.
Really.
Yeah. No, it's great. You're the second person in a row that's thrown out the cell phone number on the podcast. I'm always like, that's when you know someone is 100% invested in what they're building. Do you know what RX Bar is, the brand, the protein bar company? Okay. So it was funny. That's something I always like to tell people when they go back and forth on that, whether they should do it or not. I'm like, Peter was one of the two co-founders of RX Bar. He had his number on that packaging. I know when I joined in 2017, right before they sold to Kellogg, he had just switched it off. So he had it for like 4 or 5 years and was like, for the most part, had been taking, all that communication. It goes a long way. Obviously, if you can reach out and talk to the founder of a company, I'd challenge most people who are starting something to think about doing that.
No, I put it on there because, when you're early on, when you're in the early stages of your company too, there's nobody that knows your company better than you do. And a piece of that is also your passion for it, right? And so when somebody speaks to you and they can hear it and you just handle the communication, I think that goes a long way. People like to do business with people.
100%, man. 100%. Love it, man. Well, thanks for coming on the show. Thanks for telling your story. Really, really excited to see where you go from here. And I'm definitely going to have to grab one. And I have wings all the time, like I said. So I'm fired up to try this out.
Yeah, no, I appreciate it. And definitely let us know how you feel about it and stay in touch. And hopefully next year when we knock out all 3 of those goals, we'll
I was
talk
gonna say
more.
we'll circle back and I'm gonna have them written down over here. I'm gonna ask you how they went.
Yeah, I love it.
Love it, man. Well, thanks for coming on the show, man. I appreciate it.
All right, I'll talk soon.